Special advisor Ric Grenell, who's been on the road a lot the past few weeks. He is special advisor for us at National Security and Foreign Policy. He's got a new piece up at ACLJ.org. I'll tweet that right after the broadcast. President Trump's style is working. We talked about this some earlier in the week with Rick, that just the style of leadership, the peace deals, don't let those go by the wayside. A lot happens with. Last time we just talked to Rick, even. Yeah. How much happens? By the way, it's also Rick's birthday.
Oh, happy birthday to Rick. And you look like you're on the road again, which is kind of your life right now.
It's crazy. Every time I see the president, he says, you are traveling and you're on the road, right? Yes, sir.
Yeah, well, I got the same. I was there just a couple days ago for meetings with the president, and it was the same kind of thing. But mostly mine's focusing on cases, not so much the campaign. But you raised something, and I said this to the president. It's no secret that his style, and you really do a great job of laying this out, is so different than what Washington has been used to. And then you see the success with the Middle East being literally restructured before our eyes. I mean, completely restructured before our eyes. It's not a Washington style of leadership. It's a businessman style of leader. It's very transactional in that regard. But you think that's the reason that the success is happening?
Yeah, there's so many people that I hear all the time in Washington that will complain about President Trump's style or say that they don't like it. And I always take the bait whenever I hear that. I say, well, okay, let's talk about the style. And I think everybody in your discussion circles, when somebody brings up the president's tweets or style, you should go in for the kill immediately and just say, let's debate it. Let's talk about style, because style is a tactic of getting to a goal. And so we have to evaluate Joe Biden's style versus Donald Trump's style versus Barack Obama's style versus George W. Bush's style. Let's look at what style works. And I think Washington has been trapped in this status quo style question for so long. I love the question that even the other night President Trump got, which was, why don't you act more presidential? That's such a Washington definition of what a president means, because the rest of America doesn't really like the Washington style. So let's debate it.
Yeah, I mean, I know, Jordan, you got a question, but, when they throw that presidential thing out, I go back and think to myself, well, Jimmy Carter acted, I guess, presidential, but the Middle East, even with the Camp David Accords, ends up being a mess. And we have hostages in Iran we can't get out. I could go through the list. They act presidential. What does that even mean to getting things done? Okay.
I'll tell you what acting presidential means. It means in the campaign as a candidate, you promise to move the embassy to Jerusalem, and then as president, you have to be like, no, I can't do that.
Right, that's presidential. Yeah. Instead of, I promised it and I did it. Go ahead, Jordan.
Being controlled by, this is just, this is how I talk to people, Rick, because this calls every time I'm out with a group and they know what I do, and I'm sure this happens more even with you, but they say, I just wish he wouldn't tweet this or wouldn't tweet that. I said, my line is always this. I'm just thankful I have a president who I know where his mind is. Like, I know what he's thinking. I know where he wants to be. He's not hiding the buck. He's not hiding the buck, and that is most politicians on both sides of the aisle you cannot read, even in person. They will smile at you. They will shake your hand. You could come out of there thinking you've got a deal, and they could do that all day to both sides of the issue, to everybody, and no deal would come out. And I think that's what people have gotten used to, this kind of this slick, shake your hand. You have no idea where they are. Don't ever tell you what's wrong or right. Don't ever say yes or no. And so you kind of have to play a guessing game on where their policy is actually going to fall down.
Or you have to hire a lobbyist to
right.
in order to understand what they're really saying. Look, I've been around Washington long enough to know that there is this whole, there's been this whole push from the media for a very long time to say, we want to know more. We want politicians to be transparent. We want to know what you're thinking before you issue a press release about the decision. And that's been the mantra for about 10 or 15 years. And I think the reality is that reporters have that now in this president. They see his thinking, they see his process, and now they're complaining about it. So to me, it just goes to show that whatever Washington is asking for, whatever this kind of bureaucratic politician reporter fields, collectively what they want is really not what the American people want.
It seems to me, Dad, listen, we've all spent a lot of time with the president, all three of us that are talking right now. This is someone who lays it out on the table. He lays it
very
out
clearly.
And he also kind of lays a lot of things out on the table. Like Rick said, he uses it even like through the tweets.
Yeah.
It's his thinking. It's not the final decision.
No, it's how he
it's
processes.
kind of how he's processing through.
Yes.
And if people aren't used to that, they're used to just this kind of gift wrapped final package.
Here's what they're used to.
I feel like this election they're trying to run this off of, wouldn't you rather have the old man who just reads the teleprompter? That's what they're kind of saying to the American voter.
Here's the thing. You know what they're used to, Rick? You get a nice binder. It's got that nice presidential seal on it. You open it up. There's your position paper, and then you say it. Instead, we've got a guy. We got a guy that just says it, thinks about it,
or says, "I don't like this,"
or says, "I don't like what's in the position paper." Go ahead.
Let's dig deep on that, because Jay, you're exactly right. That's what they want, and what that means, that little nice binder with the seal on it, what that represents and what that means is the power of the bureaucracy. That the deputy assistant secretary of this and that, and the assistant secretary and the principal deputy assistant secretary gets to formulate everything into that binder. And so what President Trump has done, and what he does in the Oval Office constantly, is take away the power of the bureaucracy to decide. And he decides, and he tries to say, well, now go do it. And so I like it a lot, actually. I think that his thinking, although it completely upsets Washington and they're going to attack him for being whatever unpresidential means, he is so focused on what the American people want. And I just hope that our listeners really understand that when he's in the Oval Office with, multimillionaire executives, he's constantly pushing them to say, how does this decision affect the bottom line for the Americans? He really is focused on that. I've seen it over and over, and it's really refreshing.
It is. It really is.
And the piece up, you've also got this piece. I want to we got about a minute and a half left with you, Rick, today, and so we got this piece up. We want people to share it. I'll tweet it out. I know you'll retweet it as well. It's on this so that. Because I think what important thing, because when you're talking to our audience, you're talking to a lot of people, Rick, that are getting those questions. And they are probably sometimes, maybe depending on where they got the question at work, whether they get the question at church, whether they get the question even at home from their loved ones and family, is how do I engage these discussions? And it's going to be, an overload of those discussions from now until Election Day.
Look, I think just take, for instance, having a conversation with your family. You expect your family and you expect those that you love to be really honest with you. You don't always expect them to say everything that you're comfortable with, but I would much rather have a close relationship with a family member or a politician that represents me being totally honest and transparent rather than packaged and really making it so that I don't quite know what they actually think.
Folks, check out Rick's new piece, President Trump's Style is Working. He's a special advisor for the ACLJ on national security and foreign policy. Rick, happy birthday. Thanks for joining us today.